My name is Stuart Yurton. I'm the senior business writer for Civil Beat. And we're here tonight discussing tourism with a great panel of experts. The name of the discussion is Transforming Hawaii Tourism. And we'll spend about an hour with presentations from, again, three esteemed experts on tourism in Hawaii, then open things up for questions and a conversation. We'll kick things off with Kalani Ka'ana'ana. He is the Chief Brand Officer for the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And would like to just start, Kalani, if you could tell us just in a few words, a minute or so, what you do exactly.
Sure. Aloha, everyone. I'm the Chief Brand Officer at the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and I have the new responsibility, because it's a new position that was created in July, of really integrating our 4 strategic pillars, which include our natural resources, Hawaiian culture, community, and branding. And so how do I bring all of those 4 things together as we move toward a more regenerative tourism model in Hawaii? So really, it's the integration of 4 pillars that I think is my focus. Thanks.
Great. And we also have Frank Haas. He's president of Marketing Management Incorporated and is the former director of marketing for the Hawaii Tourism Authority. Frank, can you tell us what you, a little bit about what you do every day?
Aloha. I'm very involved with the whole issue of destination management. I've been doing workshops and writing about that. We've written in conjunction with Paul Brubaker and Jim Mack some papers that are at the University of Hawaii Economic Research Office. And I've been doing training in the area, most recently, interestingly enough, in Bandung, West Java, which is interested in creating a very robust tourism management program.
Great. And Professor Pauline Sheldon, Professor Emerita from the University of Hawaii's School of Travel Industry Management, also the founder of some Tourism Education Futures Initiative, and on the advisory board of Hawaii Green Growth. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a bit about what you do every day?
Thank you, Stuart. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm retired, but I've continued to be professionally active. I'm writing quite a number of things about designing tourism differently, particularly anything to do with transformative tourism. I'm currently pulling together a volume from writers from around the world where they're describing what's going on in their destinations with these regenerative tourism principles. I also work with PhD students around the world and do other fun things as well, because I'm retired.
Terrific. Well, we'll follow up with you later on all this work. But for now, we only have an hour. So Kalani, can you start? I know you have a presentation for us. Can you start showing us what you've got and telling us about what you're doing?
Really, I wanted to start with our vision, and quite simply, it can be summarized in 3 words. Malama ku'uhome. How do we care for our beloved home? It really is the vision that we have from John DeFries, our president and CEO, who sends his regrets tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us, so I'm here, and I'm happy to carry the message for him that we all believe in at the HTA, which is how do we do this? How do we transition what we've known in the past to this? I think fundamentally, though, the biggest shift is in our thinking, and it's how do we transition, responsible tourism into regenerative tourism, and I'm going to let Pauline share about that later on. But really, how do we balance the economics of tourism and the well-being of our communities and natural resources? And so really, that's the focus that we've taken. We know that we have a number of goals as a state. Hawaii Tourism Authority is a state agency, and so we're aligned behind the governor and the legislature in the adoption of the Aloha Plus Challenge and its 6 local goals. We know that we have sustainable development goals at a global level. And so how do we then think about local implementation of these SDGs here locally? But we also know that tourism can be catalytic. We know tourism can be a force for good. I know oftentimes people see tourism as the impediment or the antithesis of progress or being able to diversify our economy into areas like agriculture and others. But actually, we believe that tourism can actually be catalytic in this effort. I want to kind of double down a little bit on the destination management action plans. They've all been published now, including Oahu most recently in August. There is a plan for each island, including Lanai and Molokai, that are contained within the Maui Nui plan. And really what they do is they have anchor actions. And the anchor actions are sort of your top level big actions, and then there are sub actions below each of those that are more specific. And so I'm not Caroline Anderson, but I did borrow her slides tonight to walk us through some of this. A big part of the DMAPS planning is making sure that we can track progress. These are not plans that are meant to sit on a shelf. They're meant to be implemented and are being implemented now. And so tracking our implementation is really important. And you folks can do that. I shared some of the links to that. You can check the progress there. I want to just share that, each island, these are Kauai's DMAP actions. These are some of the phase 1 actions that are already underway and in progress. We know we've highlighted some of this work already, and I'm going to zoom through these slides, and I'm happy to share this later if folks want to dig deeper. But you can see that, again, these actions are taking place now. They're already happening. These are Maui's anchor actions that have been identified by community. Again, this is the actions that we're taking now that are in progress right now. 23 of the sub actions are in phase 1 that are in progress. We've already completed 1. So we're moving. We're not going to sit on our laurels with this stuff. Again, more highlights, whether it's Native Hawaiian hospitality, the shuttle programs, our convening of various state, federal, and county partners to address things on the road to Hana as a hotspot on Maui. Just a few examples. And so Molokai, same thing. I'm just going to roll through this. Lanai, same thing. It's all happening. The highlights are there. And we're going to continue to do this. Hawaii Island. The only one that hasn't really begun yet is the island of Oahu. Sorry, my slides went too quick. The island of Oahu just got published, and so we've already started some of them, but obviously this is a lot fresher for us. I also want to talk about some of the emphasis that we've put in making sure that we've expanded our team on each island. So we've hired destination managers on Oahu and Maui, and are expecting to hire Kauai and Hawaii Island soon. But these staff, Catherine, Megan, and the others that are coming on board, have the responsibility to engage community and to see that these actions are implemented on their islands. So really taking an island by island approach. One of the criticisms of HTA has been that we've been Oahu centric. And so what we're really trying to do is be responsive to that. And this is one of the means that we're taking to do that. How can you get involved? Read your island's DMAP, help with the actions. If you have a community organization or something that you can help forward, move forward on these initiatives, we definitely invite you. And so the email there down at the bottom, communityprograms@gohta.net, is certainly some way you can reach out to us to get involved. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our brand marketing. It's one that's often contentious. People say, why do we need to continue to promote the Hawaiian Islands? And rather, what I really want to do is kind of redefine in our minds the work that we do in branding. For a long time, the Hawaiian Islands have been positioned as playground and paradise, sun, sand, and surf. But we know Hawaii is so much more than those things. And so what we've tried to do is lay out this framework that has a number of different wedges that collectively we believe sort of start to address what it means to be a destination management and marketing organization, which is more holistic, which is in alignment with regenerative tourism. So how do we make sure that we amplify the positive effects of tourism while we mitigate the negative ones, but taking into account the holistic nature of what we do? And so we try to reach visitors at every level that we can, from their pre-travel planning and pre-decisional planning, right through booking, and our partners from airlines and hotels allow us to share this message of Malama with our visitors in their confirmation emails and stuff like that. We also follow them through on the airplane. We have in-flight videos. They're not mandatory, but we believe that this holistic strategy of pre-travel planning all the way through when they get here is really more effective in multiple touch points with that visitor instead of that one point in time video. But we know that they're watching the in-flight video, and then we also follow them into the airport. There's new messaging going down the escalators to baggage claim and at the baggage claim, again with this Malama Hawaii messaging. And then I think our biggest intervention is through paid social. So when they're on the island, we can target them as an audience and really try to place those messages of kuleana and travel pono, those tips that we can place in front of visitors on how to travel pono and act responsibly while they're in the islands, really is one way that we can do that. And so
next, we'd like to talk to Dr. Sheldon. She has a presentation for us. Without any further introduction, please, Dr. Pauline Sheldon.
So I'd like to begin by congratulating Roger and the festival for having this panel. It's such an urgent, critical topic, and I think it's so good that they've added it into the festival. And you know, every time I hear Kalani and John speak, I get goosebumps. They're doing exactly what's needed to transform tourism. They just need the support to get it done. Okay, so what I would like to do is just share a few ideas about how destinations around the world are looking at this need to transform tourism, because, you know, we've all been through the whiplash of over-tourism and then no tourism, and, you know, how do we come out of this? What thinking is going to help us? Are a few of these new economic structures. We all know about the sharing and the collaborative economy. This, of course, is working with social capital and using unused resources. We have the economy of creativity, where knowledge and creativity and intelligence are the basis for that. The circular economy, minimizing waste and maximizing use of resources. The sacred economy, beautiful concept where we start to value what is common to us as humanity, our interconnectedness and our reverence for people and place. The economy of generosity, where, you know, what we can give to the world rather than what we can take is the basis of that. And finally, the regenerative economy, which is really incorporates all of these in a way and is one step beyond the sustainability concept that we've been working on for a while. So what I'd like to do in the few minutes I have is just touch briefly on three of these and talk about how they might apply to tourism and how we can sort of build on these perhaps in Hawaii to transform our tourism industry. What about the economy of creativity? This, of course, is based on building, you know, intelligence, knowledge, and so on. And it's very important because we're going to start measuring the success of tourism differently. And the amount of adaptation, learning, and diversity is very important. So what would tourism look like if we designed it for creativity? Well, one group of people that I think we need to support to the max are the social entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurs, but particularly social entrepreneurs who are fired with a desire to change the world and also make profit at the same time. Some fantastic examples I don't have time to get into right now. I wrote a book on it recently. Also, designing engaging experiences so that there can be some co-creation between residents and tourists. In Sicily, there's a small village that has done a fantastic job of revitalizing itself with artistic experiences. The whole concept of storytelling, very important. And one of my very passionate things is the redefinition of tourism work and educating people to be change makers in tourism, bring that creativity into our industry in ways that we haven't thought of before. There's so many ways that we can do that. Okay, the third, so we did the economy of generosity, the creative economy, the regenerative economy or regenerative tourism. This is sort of the latest buzzword in one sense, but it's also profoundly and fundamentally important as we start to look at redesigning tourism. Why? Because as Kalani so beautifully said, it replenishes and contributes to the long-term flourishing of communities and ecosystems. And long-term is a very important concept. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that in the next 6 months we can complete. It's an ongoing long-term process. And it looks to living systems for inspiration as opposed to looking at mechanistic systems and production and efficiencies and cost. It's looking at living systems instead. And most importantly, hence it's in red, is it requires all of our stakeholders, yeah, to get a new mindset, to really get on board in a very profound way. Destinations I've known who've gone through a successful shift to regenerative tourism, it's sometimes taken 2 years to get all of the stakeholders, the private sector, the tourists, the residents, everybody on board with this new mindset. So one of the things that I think underlies regenerative tourism is to realize that tourism is not an industry. So often we use that term in Hawaii. You know, the industry needs this, the industry needs that. It's not an industry, it's a system, right? And it's a system that's nested in other living systems. And when you realize that, you make very, very different choices and decisions than when you're trying to silo an industry and just sort of cater to it. But when you realize it reaches out, and we all know that, right? Reaches out to all aspects of our society, then it forces different decisions. It's adaptive and it evolves over time. We don't have static answers, one-time answers. It's an ongoing process of thinking, asking the right questions, and meeting together, and it's holistic and balanced. So this is a very, very important shift that I think we need to make in Hawaii if we're going to transform our tourism, to stop using the term industry and start thinking it as a system. The second one, as Kalani has so fantastically laid out, is that regenerative tourism has to be based in values, the values of stewardship. All of these here are ones that we need to consider, and of course a redefinition of what success is. And I just have to stop here and say that in Hawaii, we are so blessed that we have an indigenous culture that has this rich value set, and John and Kalani are doing great things bringing them forward, and so the rest of the world in effect is jealous, if you will, that we have these, and we have to support John and Kalani bringing it out into the fore. Okay, so that's the second one. And then the third one is that we empower the community, and this is again what John and Kalani are doing with the DMAPs and so on. But it's so important, because when you look at regenerative tourism and regenerative economy, we're basing it on regenerative agriculture principles and ideas, right? And in regenerative agriculture, what is it that's so important? It's the soil that's so important, right? It has to be healthy, it has to be nutritious and taken care of for the agriculture. And I always feel like community is like the soil of regenerative tourism, and that is what needs to be nurtured and taken care of. And all our related decisions have to do that. So Aina Aloha, the HTA DMAPs are fantastic, and I'm happy to hear Kalani say that these are going to go on into the future. It's not just a one-time DMAP. It has to be an ongoing situation for it to be regenerative and move forward. And the other thing about regenerative tourism, which is also great, is that the old model of flying in experts to our destination to tell us what to do is not going to work when it's regenerative tourism. We always say the answer is in the room. We know, we live this, right? We know what needs to happen. We just need to be brought together in situations where the conversations can happen. And that already is starting to happen. So we're making great headway in that area. Okay, finally, I'm sure I'm running out of time. I just wanted to touch on something that I think Frank is going to pick up on, and that is, as we start to transform tourism, a big part of that is to design experiences for people who come here. We can do all our work on the ground, and then if tourists come here and willy-nilly go and do whatever they want without some guidance and some knowledge and some information, we'll have lost an opportunity. And so, we can design tourism experiences that transform the destination, that transform the visitor, and also transform the host. So a lot of opportunity there. And as I end, I just wanted to end with this quote, which I think captures where we're at right now, perhaps, and that is, the hardest things to change are the mindsets that created the systems that need to be changed. So we need to get everybody on board with this. Again, kudos to HTA for what they're doing, and thank you very much.
So moving on to Frank Haas, who's going to wrap things up with our last presentation here. I won't say anything else. Frank, please jump on in.
I'm, as I said, going to be talking about smart tourism. And smart tourism is really the convergence of technology tools that are that can be used by the destination. Tools like big data, robotics, data analytics, near-field communications, a lot of others, and recognizing that the visitor has access to technology in their pocket with smartphones, social media, GPS, wearable technology, and we can use the convergence of technology at the destination and technology in the visitor's pocket to create better and more effective ways to manage tourism impacts, manage tourism behaviors in the destination. I'm going to take you through what was a 50-minute presentation in less than 10, I think. So I'm just going to touch on these things, and then we can talk about it in the Q&A. But what you heard from Kalani and HTA is that the goals of regenerative tourism are different than conventional goals for tourism. We want to attract mindful, respectful visitors. We want to educate them. We want to give them authentic but low impact experiences We want to alleviate congestion that happens because of tourism and to protect and preserve our natural resources. There are ways that technology can intersect with all of these goals and contribute to solutions, and that's what I'm only going to touch on today. To begin with, we want to attract what we call a higher quality visitor, one that is respectful, one that has behavior that produces a smaller footprint. And that's not new. Big data is a way of doing that and focusing our marketing programs, not just on mass markets, but on specific people, specific types of people is one way to do that. And I have an experience that goes all the way back to 1995 when we partnered with American Express. And the good thing about that partnership is we had data on the American Express cardholders. We knew who stayed at resorts, who traveled for in the off season, who spent more money than average. And we were able then to, because we had the names of these cardholders, we were able to see if they came to Hawaii and if they spent more than average. So there was an accountability feature to this. Here we are in 2021, and big data is is an incredible part of marketing programs now. And the capabilities are far more robust than they ever have been. And we can now identify people based on their behaviors. You must know that people are collecting data about you and your transactions all the time. And we can use that data to find those people who are the quality visitors. Hotels and airlines have been doing this for some time with revenue management, and I think there's an opportunity for destinations to do the same so that we can attract people who contribute to the economy but have a smaller footprint. Who are these people? How do we identify them in data mining from big data? We can find people who stay in hotels and resorts because they spend more than average. Who travels for cultural experiences? Who is seeking a cultural experience? Who is environmentally aware? Who travels off season? And then you can drill down into other preferred behaviors. You know, we have some attractions here in Hawaii that are unique in the world. How do we attract bird watchers to come visit? How do we attract people who are interested in quilts to see Hawaiian quilts at the mission houses or Bishop Museum? Those are just a few samples of using big data strategically. You can also attract the mindful visitor or the respectful visitor through apps. I'm on the board of Travel to Change. Travel to Change is an organization that has an app that simply links visitors to volunteer opportunities in the islands. Near field communications is a technology that simply communicates between your smartphone or device and a nearby device. It now allows you to provide information to visitors in context and in different languages. There's an example in Europe of a kiosk that has information about sites nearby. And as you approach it, using near field communication, it can tell what language your smartphone uses, and it serves up that information in your own language. Near field communication can provide access to sites. You've probably used it for payment, where you hold your phone over the reader of an NFC, and it takes your payment. You can use it for transportation as payment on the bus. And then you can link it to videos. Kalani showed that video, which is great. And we show it on airplanes and we show it in hotel rooms. But using near field communication, we can serve that up at a trailhead so that it's in context. You can serve up information about beach safety near a beach using this technology. The Internet of Things is a way of improving our management of sites through things like waste bin notification, where the waste bin will actually notify someone if it's time to empty it. We can save energy by using the Internet of Things in hotel rooms. So it senses when you leave the room, turns off the lights, turns off the air conditioning. Venice is using it for crowd sensing. So it knows when a site is getting too crowded, and then they send folks out to manage the crowds. So that's one way of managing the experience. Another is augmented reality, and that's to deepen the experience. This is an example from the Colosseum in Rome, certainly a world-known, renowned site, but it's essentially a pile of ruins. And if you go there, but put on these augmented reality glasses, you can see the Colosseum as it was in its heyday. You can learn about the gladiators. You can learn about the Roman Empire, in addition to just seeing the site. Other ways to deepen the experience for the visitor, artificial intelligence chats with a bot allow you to get better service and better information so that you can learn more about a site before you go. You can learn about the do's and don'ts. You can learn about the sensitivities. We can use artificial intelligence to create custom designed packages or dynamic packages for our visitors. We can use robots at concierge stands to provide comprehensive information about conditions, attractions, and culture in a timely way. We can use technology to manage congestion. One way to do that is to equip rental cars with transponders. If you've traveled on the continent, you may be familiar with something called Easy Pass. When you go on a toll road in the northeast of the United States, the transponder in your car knows when you've passed a point on a toll road, and then it charges you for the toll. Similarly, in California, they have a system using cameras that record your license plate. But what we can do by equipping our rental cars with these transponders is then charge visitors essentially a virtual toll road as they pass certain points. Maybe it's the road to Hana, maybe it's the North Shore on Kamehameha Highway. And then the transponder, which would be registered to a visitor, would have a toll or a fee added to their rental charges when they check out. We can use GPS. Right now, GPS can track in real time visitation to certain sites. The graph on the right is visitation by hour for Diamond Head Trail. But you can create an app that then would alert a visitor when a site is busy. Or if there's an access fee, it could increase the price during busy times. Or if a site is sold out, it could suggest alternatives. Like Diamond Head is busy right now. We've closed it, but have you considered the hike at Makapu'u? We can use technology for natural resource management. I won't take time with this slide except to say that we know that visitors consume resources at a much higher rate than residents. They use 50% more water per day, almost 3 times as much energy, and so on. So how can we change that? We can adopt things like xeriscaping for landscaping, using plants and foliage that require less water. We can install moisture sensing devices so that we're not running our sprinklers at our hotels when we don't need to. And we can look at innovative new technologies like seawater air conditioning to replace the very extensive usage of electricity in air conditioning our resorts and hotels. So I have raced through just a bunch of examples of using technology to better manage tourism. This really came from the development of smart cities. Cities have been dealing with congestion and impacts of too many people in too many small places for a long time. So I think we can learn from that, and we can learn how to apply new thinking, new technology to provide a regenerative tourism base for Hawaii.